Hey problem solvers, Colfax Math here. Today we're going to go over angle measure. I'm currently working on designing a cottage on a property, and it's all about angles, angle measurement, parallel lines. So in this video I'm going to go over everything you need to know about angle measure. So let me put the camera over my shoulder and we'll start out by just going over a few definitions and some important vocabulary. So let's start right here with the word supplementary. Supplementary are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So if I have a straight line like this and another line here, this angle and this angle are supplementary because they add up to 180. Complementary are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So if I had a right angle like this, that little box is telling you that it's 90 or right. Then I know that this angle and this angle are complementary. The way I remember those is that C comes before S in the alphabet, 90 comes before 180 in the alphabet. Adjacent just means next to. So this angle is adjacent to this angle. Just like any two things next to each other are adjacent. A right angle is equal to 90 degrees. Most of the construction is based on a right angle, and most of the trigonometry where you start is all right triangle trig. So identifying a right angle is really important because a lot of properties go with that. You put that little box in there to say it's exactly 90. If I have two angles created by cross lines, the opposite angles, like this angle and this angle, are called vertical angles, and they are congruent. So if this is 35 degrees right here, then this angle right here is 35 degrees. This word congruent means the same measure. It's usually an equal sign with a little squiggly on top, and that just means two angles are congruent or they have the same measure. They're actually not equal because they're not identical. I could say this is angle A, B, C. So angle ABC is congruent to angle DBE because they have the same measure. So that's saying angle ABC starting at A, B is in the middle where the vertex is, C is congruent to angle DBE. Again, B has to be in the middle because that's where the vertex is. So that's what congruent means. Measure of angle ABC is just saying I want to know how big the angle is. So if this were the question, what is a measure of angle ABC? The answer would be 35 degrees, and it's just to expose you to a little bit more notation. Two angles that add up to 180 that are supplementary are called a linear pair because the two of them together add up to a straight line. And then parallel lines, usually the notation for parallel is double arrows on there to say these lines are parallel. That means they will never cross. And if I have parallel lines cut by a transversal, I have some cool properties there. This angle is congruent to this angle, meaning that they're the same measure. Those little tick marks mean the same measure, that they are congruent. They're congruent because of vertical angles like those two. But this angle is congruent to this angle because of alternate interior angles. Alternate part means other sides of the line. Interior because they're inside of the parallel lines. And then this angle is congruent to this angle, again vertical angles. So those four angles all have the same measure. And then in pink here, this angle, this angle, this angle, and this angle all have the same measure. So those little double tick marks are saying this is congruent to this, is congruent to this, congruent to this. If this little blue angle is, say, 30 degrees, that red angle would be its supplement, meaning 180 minus 30 would be the measure of this angle, 150. They would be a linear pair because they add up to 180. If that's 150, this is 150, this is 150, this is 150. All four of those angles are congruent, just like all four of these angles are congruent. So that's parallel lines cut by transversal. If you have one angle, you could figure out all 8 angles. So there's some terminology you need to know when you're working with angles. Next, let's turn the page and take a look at the first handout. So angle measure worksheet. This is a protractor here. I know it's a little hard to read. I won't do all of it, but I'm just showing you how to read this notation and also how to read a protractor. The key thing to know is that there's a vertex that has to line up to the 0 mark here and the 180 mark here. Remember that a full circle is 360 degrees. So a half circle would be 180 degrees. A quarter circle would be 90 degrees, or a right angle. Okay, so let's find the measure of angle RQT. So here's R, here's Q, and here's T. So I'm looking for the measure of this angle here. I know you can barely read that. It's pretty illegible, but this is a 0, and it goes, that's a 30. So the measure of angle RQT is 30 degrees. Let me jump right down a little bit and find the measure of angle RQS. So let's do number 5 here. Find the angle measure of RQS. That is now this angle here. This angle is greater than 90, also called obtuse. So as I start to rotate around here, I'm at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? So there's my right angle, and I go past 90, 20 degrees. So even though there are 2 measures here, 70 and 110, I know this angle is 110 degrees because it has to be greater than 90. It can't be the 70-degree angle. That 70 is its linear pair or its supplement back down here. So that's why a protractor you could use going this way or this way. The 2 angles will always be linear pairs. So let me do a few of these. More, what is a measure of a right angle? That would be 90 degrees. What is a complement of 20 degrees? Complement means 2 angles that add up to 90. So the complement of 20 would be 90 minus 20, or 70 degrees. Measure of a straight angle. That's a straight angle is a straight line, so that's 180 degrees. Acute, I don't know if I used these 2 words earlier. Acute is less than 90 degrees. Obtuse is greater than 90 degrees. And right is exactly 90 degrees. So is 100 degrees acute? Well, acute is less than 90. 100 is greater than that. So no, the answer is no. All right, you'll be able to figure out the rest of these. Let me go. Okay, next is solving for angles. We're going to read this paragraph and convert this paragraph into a picture. It's a really good skill whether you're on the job site or in the classroom. Draw 2 parallel lines, cut them with a transversal. So there's my parallel lines cut with a transversal. Label the top point of intersection point B and the bottom point of intersection point F. So that's what we have there. The top right angle is ABC with point A on the transversal and point C on the parallel line. Point D is on the top parallel line to the left of the transversal. All right, so we have those points labeled. The bottom point of intersection is F. The bottom right angle down here is GF8 with F on the transversal and G on the parallel line. So G on the parallel line. Point E is on the bottom parallel line, to the left of the transversal. Point G is on the bottom parallel line to the right of the transversal. Point H is on the transversal below the parallel line, so this point H. Okay, the measure of angle ABC, this angle here, is 40 degrees plus X, and ABD is 120 degrees. So this angle right here is 40 plus x, and then this angle is 120 degrees. So I've taken this paragraph, put it into a diagram. Now I'm kind of ready to start. Find the measure of angle ABC. Well, I can't tell what this is until I create an equation to solve for x. I do know that this and this are a linear pair, so these two angles add up to 180. So 120 plus the other angle, 40 plus x, equals 180. From there, I combine similar terms. 160 plus x equals 180. Subtract 160 from both sides, and x is equal to 20. It doesn't ask me what x is, it asks me what ABC is. So ABC is 40 plus x, x is 20, so this angle is 60, this angle is 120. Find the measure of Dbf. Dbf, that's this angle. It is a vertical angle of that, so they'd be the same. You kind of work your way through here to find all the other angles from the earlier part of the video. And then here's a new problem. If one of two congruent angles is 110, what's the measure of the other angle? Well, this is just a vocab test to see if you remember what congruent means. If one's 110, then the other one's 110. Two lines are perpendicular. Two lines are perpendicular. One angle created is 35 plus x. Find x. Well, if they're perpendicular, I know this together is equal to 90 because that's what perpendicular means. So you could solve that. Okay, and then lastly, let me go to this last handout here. I'll put all these handouts, links in the description in the video. Drafting using parallel lines and transversal. Use your knowledge of parallel lines to find all angles in the drawing below. So the angle in the upper right corner of the patio, the angle in the upper right corner of the patio is 100 degrees. So I have that. Find four angles on the porch. Well, if this right here is 100, this right here is a supplement of that, of 80. And then I could figure out this angle, and I could find the rest of the angles there. And here's 1/4 inch equals a foot. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and it taught you about parallel lines, angle measures, vocab associated with angles, and it'll help you in any math class and on any math test. I will put these 3 handouts in the description, I think, if it'll work, and also in Canvas. So thank you for watching. Put your comments in the comment section below if you have any. Thank you.